one of the biggest differences between this case and so many other cases of police brutality is this was not a shooting. This was 9 minutes of a man with a smug look on his face and his hands in his pockets, kneeling on another man's neck. He wouldn't have done that to a dog in the street, okay? So to do that to a black man at 38th in Chicago, where the whole world saw it, right, afterwards on the video, I can't imagine there not being a conviction.
What a simple but powerful point she makes. In his column tonight, our friend Eugene Robinson of the Washington Post writes, quote, "Remember that Chauvin is the man on trial, not Floyd. Remember that the only reason police approached Floyd in the first place was that they suspected him of a minor nonviolent offense. Remember Floyd's desperate pleas that he couldn't breathe, that they're going to kill me, that he was dying. Remember, as if anyone could forget, that the U.S. criminal justice system is on trial as well. And remember that quite literally, the whole world is watching." Back with us tonight, Jason Johnson, campaign veteran, journalist, contributor to the Grio, professor of politics and journalism at Morgan State University, and Tim Miller, contributor to The Bulwark and the former communications director for Jeb Bush. Gentlemen, good evening to you both. Professor, I'd like to begin with you. Well, further proof tonight of why our friend Eugene has the Pulitzer Prize. I further want to play for you some comments by the civil rights lawyer Ben Crump on this network tonight. We'll discuss on the other side.
We all know that we can never take for granted that a police officer will be held accountable for killing a black person, and justifiably. So even though we think the video is very compelling, that we understand that this is a referendum on can black people get equal justice in America.
Professor, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you agree with Mr. Crump's central point, as well as Eugene's central point that the criminal justice system itself is on trial here.
I agree and disagree, Brian, because the criminal justice system is always on trial. And even if Derek Chauvin ends up being convicted, it doesn't mean it's a good criminal justice system. It doesn't mean black people are treated fairly. We've seen so many different people, the killing of Tamir Rice, the killing of Trayvon Martin by George Zimmerman, Timothy Loman getting away with what he did. There have been so many instances of police officers and random white individuals shooting and killing black people and not facing any consequences, that in this particular instance, where the entire planet watched an execution, if that happens to put this man in jail, that doesn't mean the system is fine. It reminds me, to be honest, of Holdsclaw, the case that was in Oklahoma City a couple years ago, where a police officer was accused of serially raping black women in the city. He was convicted because the crime was so egregious that the law couldn't allow him to get away with it because they would have no justification for anything else they did. That's what this is. This may be a bridge too far, but it doesn't mean that all the bridges that have been burned by this criminal justice system have been fixed with black America.
Tim Miller, you had a unique and perhaps searing experience within the past year of speaking to and with a focus group of specifically older white voters. And I am told there's no video or audio of this because it was a condition of them being able to speak freely and not be recorded doing so. But having experienced it, Tim, what is that audience likely to take away from this trial?
Yeah, look, Brian, it was one of the more shocking focus groups. So we did a lot of them last year when I was working for Republican voters against Trump. And so by nature, obviously, we were talking to Republican voters. So it wasn't just older white voters, it was older white Republican voters. And I was bracing for the worst. And this is not to say that there aren't people that think the worst and feel the worst and say the worst out there. But in these swing states, repeatedly and across multiple focus groups, we heard from older white voters that were saying that their consciences were shocked by that George Floyd video, that it made them think twice about policing in this country and maybe change some of their prior views. I remember one woman in particular talking about her children and how passionately they felt about it and how they were out in the streets and protesting and how she wanted to understand where they were coming from. And so I think that this trial, in addition to the criminal justice system being on trial, as Eugene said, in addition to what Jason said, is another opportunity to galvanize maybe people who wouldn't be on the side of criminal justice reform naturally to come to that side, to encourage real reforms to the system. And I think that the political actors should see that potential opportunity here now that this is back in the news. And maybe that's a minor green shoot in this just horrible, unconscionable event.
And Jason, I ask because I must. Is the nation prepared for a not guilty verdict if that is indeed the judgment of this jury?
Brian, Black America is used to it, unfortunately. I mean, look, when I talk to my colleagues, my other professional colleagues, none of us would be shocked if Derek Chauvin got off scot-free. When people are convicted in this country by this criminal justice system for killing black folks, killing Atiana Jefferson in her home playing video games, killing Sandra Bland in some mysterious circumstance, Botham Jean in his house. When someone is actually held accountable in this country, someone white is held accountable in this country for killing somebody black, we're always shocked. We're used to nothing happening. So if Chauvin gets off scot-free, there will definitely be protests. There will definitely be anger. But in a twisted sort of way, the white supremacy that is endemic in America's criminal justice system has almost inured us. It's almost desensitized a lot of Black America to how bad things can be in this country, even when someone is arrested for a crime that millions of people across the planet all watch with their own eyes.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.